I came here with Lincoln AFJ ROTC to come help with Wreaths Across America to honor the veterans that gave their life for this country. It's really hard. I found my old Cub Scout leaders monument, and I see a couple of others that I know, and I'm honored to be here to help lay wreaths.
It's emotional, like knowing that they fought for our freedom and they died. Being in a military program, it's kind of important that we show that we respect other military people.
Our veterans gave their life for this country to give us freedom, and it's best we pay them back with a lot of respect.
Thank you. We'll call this meeting of the Lincoln Public Schools Board of Education to order. Laura, would you please call the roll? And I would note that Mr. Schulte is excused until he arrives. He had a previous engagement.
Ms. Byer.
Here.
Mr. Boswell.
Present.
Mrs. Danick.
Here.
Mrs. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Mayhew.
Present.
Ms. Mumgard.
Here. Thank you. And the Open Meetings Act is posted between the doors according to Nebraska statute. One of my New Year's resolutions was to recognize young people that are doing great things across the state, and especially when they come and visit our board meeting. And I know we have a scout in the audience. So if you would come forward, please, and introduce yourself and tell us what badge you're working on.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Trahan. I'm working on my Citizenship in the Community Merit Badge.
Thank you, Ryan. And just so you know, there's a lot more work to that than just showing up at a board meeting, because young Mr. Tran interviewed me for about an hour over breakfast, so he's working really hard on this. We have before ourselves a couple sets of minutes, two meetings. Any additions or corrections? Seeing none, they stand approved as read. And we have a special presentation. I know it says on our minutes here, or on our agenda, that it would be Mr. Mayhew, but I believe Mrs. Duncan is going to make this presentation.
Yes, and can I have Principal of Lincoln High, Mark Larson, please come forward. I want to let you know that this was a huge controversy over who got to present this tonight. So I won because I was at the Capitol.
Okay.
But I want to let you know Annie really wanted to do it, and so did Dawn. So I get to do it. Let me read this to you. Whereas the administration and staff at Lincoln High School have been honored with the 2015 Nebraska Arts Award by the Nebraskans for the Arts, and whereas Lincoln High School recognizes the value of providing opportunities to promote inclusion through art and art education, and whereas the students and staff at Lincoln High School embody unity, diversity, tradition, and excellence, and whereas Lincoln High School provides an opportunity for advanced art education through the International Baccalaureate curriculum in the areas of music, theater, and visual art, allowing students to develop meaningful experiences in creating, composing, refining, and presenting their work. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lincoln Board of Education does hereby recognize Lincoln High School for having been awarded the 2015 Nebraska Arts Award by the Nebraskans for the Arts. Congratulations. I know you have a team here. I saw some of your teachers out there. So do you want them to come forward?
Yes.
Do you guys all want to say something?
Have
We
them
are so
introduce
proud of you
themselves,
guys.
Connie.
Yes, and if you could introduce yourselves.
So first of all, I just want to thank the board for this recognition. We are very proud of this award that we received from the Nebraskans from the arts. As you all know, a great program is only as good as the people who run it. And so I'm proud to introduce the people that do this great work with our kids every day and are able to provide our kids with great opportunities to learn and express themselves outside of the core curriculum. And so I'll have each of them introduce themselves and say a little bit about what they do with the arts at Lincoln High.
Hello, my name is Chris Watson. I'm one of the music teachers over at Lincoln High School, and I work with the marching band, the wind ensemble, chamber ensemble, and I teach music technology or music production. Yeah.
My name is Ben Coe, and I'm the theater tech at the Ted Sorensen Theater.
Hi, I'm Justin Holbein, theater director, and I teach International Baccalaureate Theater and Oral Communications at Lincoln High School. And I'm also speaking for Molly Thomas, who's the other theater director. But as you know, the arts does not stop at Lincoln High School, and so there are auditions going on right now for the musical. And we know that there are some art teachers that are working with students right now. And since we are a student-first kind of school, they hope you accept their apology for not being here, but they were busy with students. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Meyer, and I work with visual arts at Lincoln High and specialize mostly in photography and digital art. Yep.
Hi, I'm Michelle Clifford, another art teacher from Lincoln High, and mostly teach drawing and painting.
Hi, my name is Brett Noser, and I teach orchestra at Lincoln High School, and on a rare occasion, I get to play tuba with the concert band.
Dr. Joel. After
So once again, we thank you for this opportunity and this recognition. There's another award that we'll add to our full trophy case at Lincoln High. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I want to extend my congratulations to Lincoln High Fine Arts Squad. I had a perfect opportunity a couple of years ago. I was asked to MC Youth TEDx. And I had a chance to be behind the scenes with Justin and Ben, and I think Molly, and most of you were part of that. And for me, it included a rehearsal and then the actual delivery of it. And I never really had a chance to go behind stage with kids and teachers. And I saw a pep talk from Justin Holbein to young people about the the global stage that they were about to step on. And I had the same kind of goosebumps that I had when I was playing sports and coaches gave us that. And these kids came running out, and the camaraderie and the collegiality and the commitment to excellence was just absolutely amazing. And, you know, we often don't remember how important relationships are. These folks, not only at Lincoln High, but at all of our schools, they have one-to-one and group relationships with kids that change lives. So I just want to say congratulations, well-deserved, and thanks for making a difference every day in kids. Thank you.
And before you leave, since I heard you're doing auditions for musical, you may as well do a little press for it. When is the musical, and which one are you doing?
It is February.
Well, the musical is Bye Bye Birdie, the Tony Award-winning musical starring Dick Van Dyke. And we'll get you the dates.
24th, 25th, and 26th.
Annie knows.
As the Lincoln High alum and mother of someone in the pit when you started, I have it in my calendar. Yeah. So we'll all come.
And our vocal music director is at auditions tonight too. So Jess Rywich could not be here with us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And Jill Atkin, yes.
Good job.
All right.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Connie, is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, that was in the form of a motion.
Is there a second? Don?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution honoring Lincoln High School's arts program as the recipient of the Nebraska Arts Award for 2015. Any other comments? Seeing none, Laura, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Boswell?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Ms. Mungard?
Yes.
Mrs. Danik?
Yes. Moving on, we have time in the agenda where we have public comment. I have two cards with me. The first one is from a Kristen Grosskopf. I hope I pronounced it appropriately. If you come forward and just say your name for the record at the microphone. And when you begin speaking, you will have 5 minutes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kristen Grosskopf. I'm currently a professor at the university here, well, 2 different universities. And I spent over 10 years teaching pre-service teachers in the College of Education. And throughout that whole time, we always included information on diversity and accepting kids for who they are, embracing their differences, and helping them achieve successes in every way possible. And so I happen to be the president of PFLAG Lincoln chapter. And I just wanted to let you know regarding the NSAA policy that's been discussed of late, that you have the support of at least PFLAG in every way possible to support not ostracizing and making kids stand out and feel even worse or even more unique or different or unwanted or unsupported by allowing to create such a policy that would further ostracize them from the community of school. Because school is supposed to be the in loco parentis body, right? So we just entrust you to embrace our kids and support them for who they are rather than further demonizing them for who they're trying to be. So, does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And next, I have a card from Pat Tetrault. When you begin speaking,
I'm good. How are you doing?
you will have 5 minutes.
Okay. Hopefully I won't take that long. And first, I'd like to thank you all for your service to our youth in Lincoln. I know education and running the schools and serving students is not always an easy job, and that's true for all of our teachers and everyone who works with students. I appreciate the support of the board and Lincoln Public Schools in terms of trying to meet the needs of all our youth, including LGBT youth. And so with all of the information that's been coming out, I know LPS is not responsible for the policies of NSAA, but because they work with the athletics that take place with the schools, the current policy that is being proposed, I think, will be potentially very harmful for youth, particularly gender fluid and transgender youth, and also impact their families. And I think that the policy is not only misinformed based on medical practice. Most trans youth would never be on hormone therapy. The most that they would be on is hormone blockers, and that would have to be with their parents' support and approval. And a lot of trans youth are not necessarily supported at home. So the process also, I'm not sure, would meet confidentiality and privacy concerns because of all the people that would end up being involved and the requirements for these youth to prove what their identity is. And it's also still looking at youth as being on, and gender as being on a binary. So if you look at some of the trends that are happening and some of the best practices around gender identity, requiring people to prove who they are or requiring surgery is not in that. What's happening in this area under Title IX, discriminating based on sex or sexual orientation or gender identity is also considered a form of sex discrimination. And OSHA is now requiring that employees have appropriate access to restrooms based on their identity. So I think that as time goes on, there will be more understanding of what gender identity is, and that it's not about our current social constructs that many people have. A lot of the policies and practices are based on people's personal opinions or belief systems rather than on research. Most of the research is now showing that the well-being of LGBT youth is directly related to having supportive family and social systems. And so, again, I commend you for your support. I encourage you to continue that support. I know it's not always easy in the face of resistance and lots of challenges that get put up. So, thank you.
Thank you. I have no other cards for people who wish to address the board. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board?
Yeah, again.
If you could you please say your name since I don't have a card?
Diane Bartles, and I'm here to tell you that I had a major part in the Wreaths Across America this year, and that's what was on your video at the beginning. And I just want to thank you for your support of the Air Force Junior, ROTC. It is not a military organization, as the young woman spoke of, so I want to make sure that you all understand that, because that was a difficult issue in getting into the Lincoln Public School system. But it is, I feel, a very important part of the opportunities that we can offer to our young people. So thank you very much, and I apologize for not giving the card. I didn't know how to do this, so.
Okay, you can fill one out and send it.
If I come back again, I'll know what to do.
Perfect. Thanks,
Thank you very
Mrs.
much.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we will move on in the agenda. We have before us the consent agenda, which is item 8.1, human resources, 8.2, routine business, 8.3, option enrollment, student applications, and 8.4, late request for enrollment option out, and number 5, enrollment of expelled students. Do I have a motion? Don?
Move approval.
Do I have a second? Barbara?
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Lanny?
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and hereby abstain from voting on all payments to the Nebraska Association of School Boards as part of agenda item 8.2.A as set forth in the agenda materials for this meeting. I have signed and filed the recommended form, which reflects my intent and my vote on the same. I vote in favor of the balance of consent items.
Connie?
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and hereby abstain from voting on all claims or payments to Nebraska Association of School Boards, the Boys and Girls Club of Lincoln, Nebraska, or any subsidiaries or affiliates as part of the agenda item 8.2A as set forth in the agenda materials for this meeting. I have signed and filed the recommended form, which reflects my intent and my vote on same. I vote in favor of the balance of consent items.
Seeing no other hands, Laura, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Boswell?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes.
Ms. Mumgarde?
Yes.
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Mrs. Danik?
Yes. Moving forward, we have items for first reading. We will act upon these at the next meeting at the end of January. It is policies, and Ms. Byer is the chair, and John Neal is faculty advisor.
Thank you, Mrs. Danik. Excuse me. Yes, it's the Ds. It gets me going. The policy committee met, which is composed of Don Mayhew and Matt Schulte as well. And the 8000 series is mostly about board operating procedures, and I'll let John go and explain any of the changes.
The first agenda item is affirming those policies that we're not recommending for a change.
on a 3-year rotation, we look at each of the series of policies to make sure that they are up to date and are applicable to the district. This group that you see in front of you, we don't recommend any changes, but we think it's important to bring it to the board so that you're aware that we're continuing with them. It also, because it updates the date on the policy that was affirmed, when the public looks at our policy manual, if they would go online, they would also see all of our policies are up to date. They wouldn't look at a policy that might be 10 years old and think we hadn't looked at it in 10 years. This keeps them all up to date as well.
Thank you, Mr. News. Is there any questions? All right, now we go.
Oh, there is.
I have a question with respect to policy 8442 and the change, and I'm actually very supportive of this change just for the purposes of clarity. There are some procedures in Robert's Rules of Order that require a supermajority vote, like a 2/3 vote to limit debate or to end debate on an issue. Is it the intent of this change that those types of procedural motions would require a majority vote rather than a 2/3 vote?
Yes, looking at this item, this is the one policy in the 8000 series we're looking at changing, 8442. When looking at other bodies and their practices, we had noticed there's lots of differences within Robert's Rules of Orders, and one of the important elements of the procedures for the board is to create some predictability and a sense of how actions will move forward. By switching to this particular process, asking for a motion and a second and then a majority vote, it brings all actions of the board under one particular practice so the board can be consistent in its work, understand how future actions will take place, and it would change any of those things other than statute in Robert's Rules of Order that might require 2/3 majority and switch those for the board in its actions to a simple majority of those present.
And before we go on to any other questions, I just want to note for the record that Mr. Schulte has joined us for the meeting. Thank you.
John, thanks for that answer. I'm very supportive of this change. I think that sometimes Robert's Rules of Order can get confusing to people that don't use it on a daily basis. And so simplifying that so it's a motion, a second, a majority vote of those present really will clarify and help smooth any of those times where we do need to use it. So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. John, I have one question, because there are some motions and seconds and approvals that require by law a supermajority. And would this note somewhere that there would be changes, that there are some that are legally required?
I believe in the policy we've included the language that unless stated otherwise in statute, just for the purposes of board action, it's a simple majority. But anything required in statute to be something other than that still is required to be that. The policy can't change that action.
This is really just a reminder for our public so that we can say it out loud. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to item 9.1.3, which is newly annexed property to the City of Lincoln. Planning Chair is Lanny Boswell. Staff Advisor is Dr. Liz Standish.
All right, thank you, Kathy. This comes from the Planning Committee where I serve with Matt and Barb. We have 4 parcels for annexation on first reading tonight. The first is a 4-acre parcel near North 56th Street and Alvo Road. The assignments for that would be Norwood Park, Dawes, and Northeast High School. There's also a 26-acre site that it's adjacent to that, and it has the same assignments. Our third parcel is 28 acres, which is near 98th Street and the north side of Highway 2, which would be assigned to Clefcorn, Lux, and East. Although I would note that starting in the fall of 2017, the middle school assignment would change to Moore Middle School. And the fourth is 5 acres near 93rd Street and Pioneers, which would be assigned to Maxey, Lux, and East. And with that, are there any comments or questions?
I have one. Do we know the housing projections for those 4 sites?
Dr. Standish.
Planning Committee did look at some of those. Mr. Wieskamp could probably provide additional information if we have any at this time.
He can bring it at the next meeting if he'd like.
Yep, and Planning Committee could take a look. Absolutely. We can refer that back and flow the information through there.
Thank you.
Just as a reminder, as the city boundaries grow, the school district's boundaries grow as well, and typically we'll assign those new areas to the schools that are assigned to adjacent parcels, and that's the case in all of these annexations.
Thank you, Mr. Boswell. Any other questions? All right, moving on. We have items from the superintendent, and it is the Early Childhood Program Expansion grant, and that would be Dr. Jane Stavum and Kara Lucas Richt. Trying to make it too hard.
This is a grant that you've seen before. This is a grant that's made available to the Nebraska Department of Education that supports our early childhood programming. The grant proposal is for up to 10 additional part-day classes in the amount of $500,000. There is a 100% match, but that can come from existing funds. And the deadline is February 12th.
Questions? And this just affirms what we've been doing in the past. Is that correct, Dr.
That's
Stavum?
correct. Additional funds made available by NDE as the whole state is really looking at getting those early childhood programs more robust and making more available to our earliest learners.
Thank you. Don?
As we often have asked in the past, is there any benefit to moving this to action tonight?
That would be up to the board. I looked ahead, and there's time. We have the next board meeting well in advance of this, I think by about that week, so I would leave that up to the board.
Seeing no other hands, this will come back for us in 2 weeks. And moving on. Been away from this touch computer, I forget. All right. We have no items for second reading or recommended for action. We have no expedited and emergency items, which is probably a good thing. We have no items removed from the consent agenda, information items from board committees. I have nothing on my agenda from the Career Academy. Mr. Boswell, do you have a report?
Some upcoming dates for the Career Academy. The joint board meeting is tomorrow morning at 8:15. The Career Academy Partner Summit, which we've invited our business community to, also board members should have invitations, is 10:45 on Friday, January 22nd. And I'd just like to give a quick shout out to the 150 or more business professionals that are assisting with the Career Academy as advisors and mentors. And then information nights for students and families have already started at the Career Academy for January. The first was last night, 7 o'clock. There are 2 remaining information sessions on January 26th and January 28th. And again, those start at 7 o'clock and are at the Career Academy at 88th and O.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to items from the superintendent.
Just a couple of quick items. We continue to work on our board superintendent goals, and special education audit is underway. We've Dr. Stavum and her staff have been coordinating with the folks from the East Coast, and they're going to be spending some boot time here in the district, and there'll be a schedule of meetings and events that we'll have shortly. Legislature's in session, and this is going to be a very, very short year and 60-day session, but there's just an awful lot of things that can occur. And as many of you are aware, the governor made a statement today about property taxes being the highest priority, and of course, the way to address that would be at the local spending level. So Mr. Neal and our legislative committee, and also I know a lot of folks around the state are going to be paying attention to developments. It's going to be the 60 days is going to go fast, but we have to be on it in terms of things that are happening, and LPS will continue to have a seat at those tables. And so that would conclude my report.
Thank you, Dr. Joel. And moving on, we have the monthly financial report. Any questions or concerns about the monthly financial report? Seeing none, we have announcements of upcoming events. January 13th is the Career Academy Joint Board Meeting at 8:15. January 15 is the Martin Luther King Freedom Breakfast at 7:30 a.m. at the Embassy Suites. On the 18th is the Martin Luther King Youth Rally at 10:30 at the State Capitol in the Warner Chamber. It should be noted that there is no school that day. On January 20th, the Greater Nebraska Schools Association, GNSA, is having a meeting at 9:30 at the NCSA building. On the 24th through 26th is the National School Boards Association Advocacy Institute in Washington, D.C., and for those who follow our board meeting, that meeting has been changed to the next meeting has been changed to Wednesday, January 27th, to accommodate board members returning from Washington, D.C. Now, on the agenda is time for anyone who did not address us earlier. If you'd like to have public comment, please come forward. Seeing no one, I don't have a list of anything for closed session. Dr. Joel, do you?
No, don't.
We have no request for closed session. And with that, this meeting is adjourned, and thank you for your work.
Text Richard.